I have built a machine which can extract a chunk layer by layer, reassemble it perfectly above ground, and then send it off to wherever it's wanted. Before we get into how it works though, the world download link is in the description if you want to play around with this yourself. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, and if you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can always unsubscribe. The entire machine is made up of 5 main parts. The first part is the mining machine, which actually goes down and pulls the chunk back up layer by layer. The second main part is this piston array, which pushes down these blocks so that this entire layer can be pushed over more easily by the third main part, which is this flying machine. The fourth main part is this large flying machine, which essentially reassembles the chunk above ground by pushing each layer up to that obsidian block up there. As you can see, a couple layers have already been pushed up and reassembled. And the fifth part is all of these flying machines, which move the reassembled chunk horizontally. Originally, I wanted to move the entire chunk at once, using a massive moving piston wall. However, my game crashed every time I tried to activate it, so instead the chunk has to be moved in, well, chunks. It's a bit easier to see how it all fits together when it's actually turned on, so let's go ahead and activate it. As you can see, this flying machine is ascending towards the ground. And it's picked up the first layer. This first layer is kind of special because there aren't any blocks attached to the sides of these slime blocks and honey blocks, so these pistons are slightly useless. And these pistons are pushed forwards to ensure that this first layer sits right in the center of this flying machine. That flying machine is returned though. These pistons retract and this flying machine starts pushing this first layer up. These pistons aren't necessary for the first layer, but they are necessary for the rest of the layers. It takes about a minute for this flying machine to reach the top and come back down again, so we'll just cut out the waiting period. The flying machine has reached the top and is leaving this first layer right here. Now that this flying machine has returned here, this flying machine activates again. And now that there's a pre-existing hull and it's no longer working with just flat ground, once this flying machine is fully descended, you can see that it also picks up blocks along the sides. And once it gets back up, these pistons will actually do something and push those blocks down. So now this entire layer can be transported over more effectively by this flying machine. This does create a problem, however, because these edge blocks are technically part of the first layer. So there are pistons here all around the edge of this flying machine to essentially push this back into the shape that it was down there. So as you can see, when this reaches the top, it pushes these edge bits up around the first layer. So this would fit perfectly into the hole right down there. It does, however, take about 2 minutes for each layer to be pulled up and reassembled above ground, so instead here's a fun time lapse. And after 2 hours, what you're left with is a massive pillar of earth. I'm sure at this point you can definitely see why this is a much better alternative to just using a pickaxe. The chunk can then be moved horizontally in 7 parts. For the purposes of this video, I've set up an obsidian wall here, which the chunk will stop at. Starting at the bottom, you can press this button to activate this flying machine, which will then come over here and start pushing the chunk towards the obsidian wall. You will notice, however, that when this flying machine reaches the end, it stops and does no return. This is because creating a completely flat, two-way, movable piston wall is completely impossible. Once the first flying machine is reached to the end, you can go ahead and activate the second one. You can actually activate multiple at once. For example, I can now go up here and activate this one. However, having multiple running at once does produce quite a lot of lag, so exercise caution when activating them. You do also have to be careful that you activate them from the bottom up. For example, you have to activate this one before you can activate this one, and this one before you can activate this one. If you try to activate, for example, this one before you activate this one, then it'll all break. Once you've activated them all successfully in order though, you should be able to see that this entire chunk has been moved right up here. That, however, is pretty much all it does, so now we'll talk about a couple of the problems. First of all, if the mining machine comes into contact with immovable blocks like obsidian, or falling blocks like gravel or sand, it will break. There isn't anything I can do about this. Secondly, the mining machine doesn't like caves, or water or lava source blocks. If it comes into contact with any of these, it will once again break. These problems can be ironed out in creative, however, by using /fill commands to replace all the blocks which it doesn't like in the target area to stone, and replacing the very bottom with a smooth layer of obsidian or bedrock, as I've done here. There isn't, however, anything that you can really do about this in survival. I did briefly consider redesigning the flying machines to solve the second problem, however I decided against it because, to be quite honest, this entire machine itself is a problem. It has nothing that could even be remotely considered practical uses. It's essentially just a complete waste of redstone and a lot of slime blocks. If you legitimately build it in survival and have a proper use for it, then you should probably go see a psychiatrist. Anyway, there you go. That was a world mover in Minecraft. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.